Hello, my name is Jim Panella. I am the Vice President of American College of Clinical Engineering. I want to take this opportunity on behalf of ACCE to wish you all a very happy Global Clinical Engineering Day. ACCE has been around for over 30 years. Our mission is to establish a standard of competence and to promote excellence in the clinical engineering practice, to promote safe and effective applications of science and technology in patient care, to define the body of knowledge on which the profession is based, and to represent the professional interests of clinical engineers. In a hospital, healthcare asset management firm, or healthcare technology service company, men and women in our profession often function as technology managers for medical equipment systems. Some of these responsibilities include financial or budgetary coordination, service contract management, maintenance activity coordination, asset management, IT coordination, project management, and regulatory compliance, as well as fill other important functions in ensuring that medical equipment is safe and effective for patient care. During these difficult times, we are so proud of the men and women in our profession and their determination to continually perform and use their technical skills to ensure patients are safely cared for. So again, a very happy Global Clinical Engineering Day to all. Thank you for what you do in keeping our profession moving forward and patients safe.
Hi, my name is Yuso Langerman. I am the Membership Committee Chair with the American College of Clinical Engineering, or also known as the ACCE. You may be familiar with ACCE as a network of clinical engineers around the globe. ACCE currently has over 1,000 clinical engineering members representing dozens of countries and countless healthcare delivery organizations. I wanted to provide you with a quick message during this Global Clinical Engineering Day and make sure you're aware of some of the great benefits of joining the ACCE. I myself have been part of an ACCE as an individual member, a committee member, and most recently as a membership committee chair. I truly value the impact this group of peers has had in my daily job. The assistance, mentoring, and guidance I've received from countless members of this community has been unparalleled. Being a member provides a range of benefits from access to clinical engineering experts and peers, volunteer opportunities with our committees, and discounted registrations at global conferences such as the AMI Exchange and HIMSS. In our ACCE newsletter, we also cover timely topics and actively inform our members of some of the latest challenges facing our profession. ACCE also hosts an educational webinar series annually where we cover a range of hot topics in the clinical engineering space, bringing together renowned experts from healthcare organizations, regulatory agencies, accrediting bodies, research organizations, and manufacturers. If you're not already an ACCE member, make sure to check out accenet.org and our membership pages, which outline the different membership types and the qualification requirements. Please do send your application in for our committee review, and we look forward to have you join us and grow this global clinical engineering community even further. Thank you all for attending today's clinical engineering celebration.
Hello, this is Binseng Wang. I'm the current chair of the International Committee of the American College of Clinical Engineering, ACCE. It is a great honor and pleasure to greet our worldwide clinical engineering colleagues again on the Global CE Day. Despite the challenges imposed by the COVID-19 pandemic around the world, the International Committee of the ACCE has managed to make some progress since the last Global CE Day. We managed to establish 2 additional mutual collaboration and assistance agreements with foreign associations, namely the Colegio Colombiano de Ingeniería Clínica of Colombia and the Clinical Engineering Association of South Africa. While we were unable to travel overseas and participate in events in other countries during the pandemic, we were able to hold joint webinars with several of the associations in foreign countries, such as Brazil, Peru, and South Africa. We are confident that these and other international activities will resume in intensity and quantity after the pandemic is over. In the meanwhile, we would like to celebrate all the frontline clinical engineering professionals around the world on this Global CE Day. We want to acknowledge their sacrifices in risking their own lives and those of their loved ones while working diligently to maintain and manage medical equipment essential for the care of the COVID-19 patients. You are the true heroes of our profession and have proven value to the governments and societies around the world. Thank you so much for your dedication and hard work. Have a wonderful CE Day. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Nader Hammoud. I want to wish everyone a happy Global Clinical Engineering Day. And I want to share with you some thoughts about clinical engineering from a global perspective. I'm proud to say I've been managing clinical engineering, biomedical engineering departments for the last 20 years. First 10 of those of which I was actually working another shift as well as a consulting engineer for equipping and designing hospitals, which enriched my experience and allowed me to see things from a very much wider angle. I started my career back in 1999 after getting my third degree in biomedical engineering. I have a DOT degree, and then I have Bachelor of Science, and I have Bachelor of Engineering. And I completed that with an MBA with a minor in healthcare. I came into the United States 8 years ago in 2012 and started working as a biomedical engineering manager in California. And one of the few things that caught my attention being the new set of eyes and fresh coming to the United States from international experience were a bit shocking, but very useful for us to look at and see. And later on, I was able to see that it was on the radar of many people, and we need to work hard on making sure we address those. One of the first things that actually shocked me is how much clinical engineers and biomedical engineers underestimate themselves in a healthcare setting. We are almost many organizations that I've worked at, we are excluded from what I call the life cycle of medical equipment. In many locations, many areas, biomeds and clinical engineers were looked at as the break fix people, which it's not what we are. I always share that the break fix is literally about 10 to 15% of our actual work. And we need to make sure that everyone understands that, and we promote ourselves accordingly and promote each other as well. One big message I would like to pass to my colleagues and clinical engineers is, believe it or not, we are the only people in a healthcare setting that can speak the language of everyone else. We can speak to the doctors and the nurses using their language, clinical language, because guess what? We did study anatomy and physiology. We did study anything related to the human body, how it works, all of its aspects. We can speak to the electrical engineers because we did study electrical engineering in our college and our degrees to understand how electricity affects the human body. We can speak to the mechanical engineers because it's the same thing. We studied that. It's part of who we are. It's part of what we do day to day. We have to understand mechanics and electrical and all of these things because this is how the human body works. And guess what? We are human body engineers. We are the ones who can speak all these languages. We can speak to the doctors, we can speak to the engineers, we can speak to the IT, because part of our education as well is actually coding and IT, networking. We are the only ones who can claim that we can do this. No one else in the organization, not an IT, not engineering, not facilities, not doctors, not nurses. No one can speak the same language that we speak with everyone. That's a huge plus. That's a huge advantage. We need to make sure we promote that and we appreciate that and highlight that. So, taking it from there, I highly encourage everyone, don't be shy. We are extremely valuable in the healthcare system. Make sure you're visible. Push yourself out. Be involved, be engaged, get education. I'm currently a member of the Technology Management Council at AMI. I'm a member with ACCE and just joined their education committees. I'm a member of California Medical Instrumentation Association and have been uh, past president for 2 terms for the Capital Chapter. I'm not saying this just to say what I've accomplished. Actually, I'm saying what I've done to get myself involved and get myself better education so I can come back and promote my department in the healthcare settings. Wish you the best of luck. We are much appreciated globally. We are the key players in the success of any healthcare organization. Never forget that and always give yourself the credit that you deserve. Wish you the best of luck and thank you.
Hello everyone, I am Rodrigo Campora. I am colonel from the Chilean Army. I am from the class 2011. After graduating in 2011, I came back to my country here in Chile, and I was deployed to the military hospital in Santiago, Chile, the capital city. My duty there was facilities director, and one of my department was the clinical engineering department. So I was very involved in all the medical equipment, maintenance, acquisition, all of the tasks that every clinical engineering do in every place. I was implementing ECRI equipment like CT, angiography, or implementing a lab core or medical electronic records. I was as a team leader, as a part of the team in many projects. After 7 years there, I was posted to the military hospital in Antofagasta, the northern part of Chile. Right now I am CEO of this military hospital. This is a 40-bed hospital. It has OR, ER, lab, blood bank, clinics. So it's a small hospital here in north of Chile. And I'm very happy being here and using all my acknowledge that I received in my program in Yukon. So here I managing this hospital, and I'm pretty sure that all my experience that I got there in the state and here in my career, it's the way that I am right now managing this hospital. So happy CE Day and cheers for everyone. Bye.
Good morning, everyone, and happy Global Clinical Engineering Day 2020. My name is Perry Kerwin, and I'm the Vice President of Technology Management and Tech for Banner Health, based in Phoenix, Arizona. And boy, what a year 2020 has been so far. We have faced many challenges across the globe. A global pandemic called COVID-19. As an example of difficulties experienced, international demand for some clinical equipment, supplies, and accessories was extremely high, and yet the global supply chain was challenged at best, leaving caregivers far short of what they needed to take care of patients and themselves. However, if there is one thing that the clinical engineering profession is good at, it's rising up to meet challenges head on and reacting quickly and decisively in times where stress of caregivers and leaders are high and when the lives of patients are depending on it. And that's what all of you did in one capacity or another. These are some of the areas where clinical engineering made a material impact for Banner Health. First and foremost, we showed up. We were there. While many functions in hospitals were being configured to work remotely or temporarily sidelined, clinical engineers were right where they should be, in the hospitals and by the side of our caregivers. Just think, were the OEMs doing this? Preventative and corrective maintenance didn't and hasn't taken a pause throughout the pandemic. And although that meant donning personal protective equipment to perform the duties, that was exactly what was done, as equipment uptime has never been more critical. And what do you do when the equipment supply chain is broken? You rebuild and commission equipment to do the job. At Banner Health, we rebuilt, restored, and commissioned over 1,200 pieces of medical equipment that all saw service. We implemented telehealth solutions in our hospitals, remote surveillance technologies, and double bunking to help limit the number of times caregivers had to enter highly infectious environments. Banner Health Clinical Engineering also developed reprocessing techniques for many single-use items such as N95 masks and glide scope blades, just to name a couple. We served on many critical teams: strategic sourcing and logistics, finance, capacity management, infection prevention. We helped our hospital at the local, state, and federal levels of government, whether it was acquiring equipment and supplies from the strategic national stockpile, as well as knowing when not to. We worked with our IT counterparts and built connectors physically from our medical equipment to IT reporting dashboards. This took the forms of funneling information from our CMMS systems and rapidly building connections of medical devices into the EHR to assist with device availability statistics. Because clinical engineering is the fusion of technology and biological systems, we help develop algorithms within the EHR to triage and optimize ventilator utilization, using PF ratios and PEEP levels and type crossing those clinical values to very specific attributes of our ventilator fleet. Isn't it amazing how important the little things are, and in some cases can be the only thing preventing life-saving equipment from working? Think quick connects for ventilator hoses, end exhalation valves for ventilators, NIV hoses and connectors, etc. What do clinical engineers? If we can't source, we improvise. We 3D printed parts and supplies. In short, we did what needed to be done. And if your organization didn't know who clinical engineering was or what the true capabilities of a clinical engineering were before COVID-19, they very likely know now. This is a small clip from our president and CEO as an example.
Then there's our technology management and tech experts, or as we like to call them, our biomed team. Whenever we pick up or turn on a piece of medical equipment, from a thermometer to a 3T MRI or a surgical robot, we have this team to thank. They're high-tech professionals who install, inspect, repair, and integrate our healthcare technology. They've restored more than 1,200 critical bedside monitors, beds, and ventilators, and helped us find and acquire medical supplies to handle the surge. They've traveled to Page in northern Arizona to give our team members in the community hands-on support. They are working around the clock to make sure our teams have what they need and that our patients get the best care.
You can sense both pride and probably even a little bit of relief in his voice as he spoke about us to the entire organization. I have never been prouder than I am right now to be in the clinical engineering field and to be associated with professionals like yourselves. Happy Global Clinical Engineering Day, and rock on.
Hello everyone, happy 2020 Global Clinical Engineering Day. My name is Roberto Torres and I work as the manager for the Clinical Engineering Department at Cedars-Sinai Medical Center. We are located in the western part of Los Angeles and we are approximately a 900-bed hospital. And we're here to share a little bit about who we are. We support about 30,000 devices here at the medical center from every area of the hospital. We are about a 25-team strong department composed of biomeds and clinical engineers. And we're hoping today we can show you a little bit about who we are. Thank you very much.
Hello everyone, happy 2020 Global Clinical Engineering Day. My name is Sirvat Karavanian. I am one of the 3 clinical engineers at Cedars-Sinai Medical Center in Los Angeles. I've been with Cedars-Sinai since May 2012. As clinical engineers, one of our responsibilities is to assist in capital medical equipment replacement planning along with the clinical department leaders during every budget planning season. Internally, we set the foundation by keeping an accurate and detailed medical equipment inventory with purchasing information included. A few months before the capital budget requests are submitted for approval for the approaching fiscal year, we review the equipment inventory of each department and identify the ones which have reached end of support or not meeting the clinical needs of the users. Besides our monthly meetings with the department directors, we set up focused meetings annually to discuss their equipment status as well as to explore their additional needs. Then assist in obtaining quotes and finalizing their budget request. Since clinical engineering is very much involved with all construction or renovation activities around the campus which have medical equipment component, we are aware of all equipment which is going to be replaced and can be made available to others. Therefore, before spending any funds, we try to repurpose them, rather than buying a new one if feasible. Whenever there is more than one choice of equipment, we assist the clinical users in making an informed choice by researching the options, setting up comparative demonstrations with manufacturers, and clinical evaluations if deemed necessary. Being a HIMSS Analytics Stage 7 integrated medical center, we work very closely with several groups of our IT department, including device integration, in collaboration with pharmacy, infection control, central issues, clinical educators, and users to ensure a successful go-live. I add value to the medical center by assisting the clinicians to have the best tools to serve our patients. Thank you very much for listening.
The Cedars-Sinai Clinical Engineering team is committed to providing quality service by having excellent customer service. We do this by getting to know our stakeholders, preferably by name. We meet with leadership at least once a month. Our frontline staff does rounding, and we try to get to know the specific needs of each individual area. We do this by having conversations about what the specific needs is for them, and we set up relationships not only with our stakeholders, but with our providers as well. The service providers is a key for us to be able to provide the service that our customers need. And so we have tools set up in place with our providers, such as standing POs, service contracts, agreements with our suppliers, and we set expectations of what the service delivery should be. We got to know what's important for each area. I can't stress that enough. So we're always looking for better ways to improve on what we do. This includes having great relationships with other internal departments, such as purchasing, finance, facilities, and even the shipping and receiving loading dock. All these relationships help us expedite service, especially when things don't always go the way you expect them to. Being organized is a fundamental key aspect of having a quality program. And so we use all these tools to make sure we take care of our clinical customers and have excellent customer service.
Hello and happy 2020 Global Clinical Engineering Day. My name is Nithya Kavendran and I have been a clinical engineer here at Cedars-Sinai for the last 4 years. One of my day-to-day responsibilities is addressing adverse events that involve medical equipment. And when one of these events happen, there are many stakeholders, such as the clinical staff, patient safety, and risk management. And everyone is extremely concerned and very interested in determining the root cause of the event. Was it user error? Did an accessory malfunction? Or was there some sort of problem with the device? Here at Cedars, we have a detailed workflow in place to ensure we're able to expedite an answer. With our infusion pumps, I am able to pull the event logs and check line by line to see every key press, allowing us to pinpoint errors and rule out possibilities. This information provides the stakeholders with what they need to quickly move forward, whereas waiting for a vendor analysis could take considerably longer. As a part of clinical engineering, I am proud to add value and help support patient safety at our facility.
Another area where we strive to have excellent customer service is in relationship building. It is important to know what your customers need. And we do this by having open lines of communication. And we talked about having monthly meetings with leadership so that we can talk to them and they can talk to us. Having the open communication with frontline staff is also very important, so we know how to fulfill needs. Having your finger on the pulse includes sharing repair trends for those areas, tracking monthly expenses, talking about upcoming projects, recalls, upgrades, construction, new equipment installation, and having a forum for them to talk to us about what they need in their areas. We have to keep abreast of the clinical needs. Maybe there's new technology, maybe there's something that we didn't think about from a technology perspective that meets the clinical needs. So by being familiar with the equipment and by being familiar with their needs, we can provide excellent customer service by having excellent relationships. We hope you've enjoyed getting to know us, clinical engineering at Cedars-Sinai. We want to thank you for watching our video, and we wish everybody a happy 2020 Global Clinical Engineering Day. Thank you, everybody. Bye-bye.
There's plenty of reasons to go into the room to care for the patient. But if you're going into the room just to adjust the rate, respond to an alarm, maybe change a bag, or deliver an IV push medication, hospitals are thinking about putting their pumps outside of the room to allow those tasks to be done without having to suit up, get your PPE on, take it back off, and potentially, use a whole set of PPE that could be used better somewhere else.
Okay, and tell me some specifics about what we need to know.
Sure. Luckily, we've learned a little bit about this practice over the years because previously hospitals have tried moving pumps outside of MR suites. So we have some experience delivering through really long administration sets through a waveguide into the MR suite with a pump outside.
The pressure and volume of the gas delivered to the patient is going to be essentially the same if the ventilation modes are set the same way. But with an ICU ventilator, the supply gas is going directly to the patient, coming through the machine, through the inspiratory outlet, through the breathing circuit, to the patient, who right now is stable, and then back to the machine, and then out into the atmosphere. Whereas with an anesthesia system, the gas is coming through the machine, going to the patient. That part's the same. But then when it goes back to the machine, it is going through the CO2 absorbent to scrub the CO2 out of the gas, because it's going to be given back to the patient. And obviously, typically with an anesthesia during a surgical procedure, you're delivering anesthetic agent, and you want to preserve the concentration of that agent by giving the patient the gas that they exhaled that has that agent in it.
You really want to make sure first and foremost that the device is turned on. So it sounds simple enough, but it has happened that patients may forget to just switch on the device. A rule of thumb is when you're placing this device on, or when you're educating patients, make sure that the display is always on or facing towards the nail of your finger, so that when you are using it, you're able to see it and you're looking at your fingers rather than your palm. Are they easy to read? So the patients would need education on what do these values represent. So on this particular device, the first value in here, and it might take a minute or so for the value to load up, basically shows you the SpO2 level, and the second value right here will tell you the pulse rate level.
When the COVID-19 pandemic began spreading throughout the U.S., hospitals were finding it more and more difficult to get N95 respirators for their staff, and they began to consider the purchase of imported products that would be substitutes for the N95s. But they had concerns about the quality of these imports and kept asking ECRI if there was any way we could help them test respirators to verify that they work as well as an N95. So ECRI purchased a machine that is the same model that is used by NIOSH to certify N95 respirators. And it's been running now for several months, and we found some very interesting results.
So hospitals were coming to us and saying, can you guys do some testing and verify that these are in fact respirators that will meet our requirements? And at the time, we didn't have a machine to do that, but we did purchase one, and we're able to get started in July doing testing. And we did find some very interesting things. What the slide is showing you here is that it can be very difficult to distinguish between a legitimate respirator mask and one that's counterfeit. The one on the left is actually a legitimate N95 mask made by a Chinese company. And the one on the right, they've chosen to use the exact same logo as the company. In fact, they even have the same NIOSH certification number on both of these models. So it's very difficult to know which one of these is in fact a legitimate one. So that's kind of why we got involved in doing this testing. One of the other problems that we're seeing is that the documentation that's provided by the distributor or the manufacturer is often, I shouldn't say, it is frequently falsified. That's one of the problems. And it can look really legitimate. These three documents, for example, are showing what these look like. They look pretty authentic and suggest, you see the FDA stamp on it or NIOSH's name on it, and you think, oh, wow, this must be a legitimate product. Mm-hmm. But the reality is, unfortunately, sometimes that's not the case.
you.